Just about. We've got one last little bit to paint. Got a couple pieces of trim to put on, then we'll be done, and we'll put everything away.
I drove by your house
But
today.
looking forward to have that done. It's been either too cold or too windy. Thank you, sir. And if it's either one of those, we can't.
Well, if you come back tomorrow, be sure you see.
Yeah, yeah.
Pieces that fell all over.
Can it
the
just be
yard.
I saw that.
65 and no
You know,
wind?
that thing that's in the back.
I'm telling you.
Flipping that.
Or 55 and no
Can't
wind?
think down,
Jason.
get out.
I'll take
Get that
50 and no
Tomorrow.
What are you doing with the washer on
Just we took
the
her,
side?
we took that printer in
Hey,
there.
Jill, is
and
there a
set
pen
it
in that desk?
Oh.
So give her a bunch of crap and
Yeah,
tell her that that was
not.
not.
Jill, is there a pen in that desk you can throw in my general direction?
I did not bring my bag today,
We were by
so,
your place.
oh, look at that.
A couple others.
You can throw it.
It was funny, too. That's like.
Yeah, my
I was
neck
like, is a braille on these?
You could have thrown it.
I'm not a very good tosser, so probably got somebody's eye.
Exactly.
Well, it's
But
like
those two things back there,
bigger than the.
one I keep
Bunch
looking
of
at that
kids'
bike
toys.
house in there, I got another.
That's how I'm gonna tell her.
The dog's
That Doug
house
needed it for
or
tonight.
Yeah.
And he's like, now my phone in. I come in, Vivian, where are you? And then I could.
So so is that.
She said she was, she'd be here.
Give her a whole.
Vivian said she'd be here.
Yeah,
She
but
goes,
did you
"I'm
know
gonna
it's
try
at 6 and not 6:30?
Jason comes in and says, this wasn't mine. And I was like, oh,
think
no,
so.
that won't happen.
You know what you do is take that one. Just take that place.
I moved me.
There she is.
Right, you got this,
Hello.
you got the used.
Okay.
Huh?
This is mine. This is good.
Well, Ms. Davis,
Oh, I have
nice
them.
to see you. How are you?
Thank you. Yes, this is what I want.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure.
Well, how are you?
And yourself?
I'm good.
Mm.
How you doing, Jim?
Good, thank you. Now, the little round wood things that you gave us at this time.
Ice cream things.
Yeah, that's ice cream. Well, I'm gonna just do it. I got you.
We're supposed to give them away.
I did. Okay. Listen, a lot of people are.
got 60 of them, Jim.
I only have two, but I put. Oh.
Must have more than one. No, just one.
Awful lot of eating stuff before. And after. Oh, yeah, water today.
Yes, we need to have it in here more often, huh? Because normally we don't
I
get
know.
Yeah.
water.
Must be a good host.
And no, this was all,
This is all
done.
We're going to expect that now. She just said, you expect it, you may not get it.
All right. I think you will see one another.
I'm mad.
Hey, how are you?
I got something for you too. I got something for you too. What?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Today must be lavender day.
Must be loud. Yeah, it is.
I was over, I visited my mom. Every single person at the table had lavender.
Spring,
Not me, but-
well,
Bring tomorrow.
At least it won't be snow.
Yeah.
That would be winter number 5. I'm not happy about it. Oh, yeah, it's the fall, springs and winters.
Hey, Donna, how you doing today?
Cullen, calling, zooming in somebody?
Yes.
Hi, Jill.
It's okay. Just waiting on the.
You brought your own? Oh,
No, he had a bunch.
That's called.
All right, folks, I will go ahead and call our meeting to order. It is 6:01 PM. If we can start with a moment of silence, please. And if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I almost said the French national anthem.
No, right? Well, with last name French. it would
you
be-
might have taken it personally.
City Clerk Domingo, if you'll take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Reed. Present. Stewart.
Here.
Ross.
Here,
Davis.
Here,
French.
Here.
And Mayor Snyder.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve of the agenda?
So moved.
support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments, if there's anybody within the room that would like to stand and address council in regards to an agenda item, you may do so at this time. Seeing no movement, we are here to discuss next steps with our city manager search. City Manager Terry, did you want to
Sure.
start us off?
Sure. Madam Mayor and members of council, at our last regular council meeting held a week ago, we had interviewed one of our candidates, Vester Davis, who was the former city manager for the city of Springfield. Mr. Davis, I've had multiple conversations with him. And of course, the venue wasn't quite what ideal for an interview with a lot of distractions. However, we had decided to call this special meeting to discuss how we were going to proceed going forward, whether or not Mr. Davis was a viable candidate of your choosing. And so we wanted to probably go around the room, ask council what their feelings were, what their thoughts are, and how we should proceed going forward. Right now, I'm your interim city manager, and I will take into account anything and any desires you have for me going forward. I am your representative. I have had discussions with Mr. Davis. He's a tremendously nice young man, and I welcome any questions or comments you might have. Does that summarize?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah. Anybody want to kick us off?
I have a question for you. In your discussions with him, were you able to learn more about his experience and some of the, maybe some practical things that he was able to maybe bring to the table that we weren't able to address last week?
No. You know, I've had private conversations with him. My understanding, and I understand the reluctance of council whenever a candidate is dismissed from one community and becomes a candidate for another, it raises concerns. Now, I want to just tell you that fortunately, that really has never happened to me. However, it is not unusual in this line of business. When we work for the public, when you work for the public, it's not unusual for a person to be dismissed, and not necessarily for cause, but they want a different direction in leadership. And so in his particular case, what was described to me was that the council, which was newly elected in November, came in around the 1st of January, said, we want to take a new direction, and you're no longer going to be our manager. That being said, I approached the mayor of Springfield at a function, and he could not say one word whatsoever. There was a non-disclosure agreement between Mr. Davis and council, and so nothing could be said. So talked to staff a little bit about it in trying to find out some insider information. Do we know what happened? Do we understand? And we can't find anybody that will speak to us of why he was dismissed. I know that this has been a concern on council's part. And the reason why is because we do and have had a lot of turnover in managers. And I want to be quite frank with you. In manager world, Albion does have somewhat of a reputation of turning over city managers. When you're bringing your family and making an investment in your career and in homes, it is very difficult. You want stability in the worst way. And that stability has to be long-term. I mean, with the lack of affordable housing today and bank loans and interest rates, it is very difficult to make a commitment to a city knowing that you might only be here for 6 months, 2 years. And so I understand his reluctance too, or not reluctance, his concerns about, but that's the reality of where things are right now in our world. So.
Well, begging your pardon,
Yeah.
Mr. Terry, but my question really
Okay.
wasn't
I'm
geared toward
sorry.
his reasons for leaving Springfield. It was more towards his actual experience as a city manager. Was he able to touch on anything that would speak to what things would be beneficial here in Albion? As I think we've talked before, the grants and a lot of funding that cities, municipalities, and state governments have relied on for a long time are drying up. And I think that it's going to take a very assertive, active city manager to lead Albion into the future. And so I think that a city manager whose previous modus operandi has been geared more towards finding federal grants and money instead of figuring out ways to work with industries and businesses to grow wealth. I think that might be challenging myself personally. So I was just trying to figure out from maybe those issues that all of us are going to have, how does Mr. Davis measure up or to be
Well, what I do know, yes, what I do know is he was mentored by Pat McGinnis in the Grand Haven, which is a very what would you say, tourist-oriented community, very tourist-oriented. I know that he had a very good relationship with Pat. Pat is more than a capable manager, has spoken well of him. At the same time, Pat now is in Portage, but he had a long tenure in West Branch, long tenure in Grand Haven, and I know likes to surround himself with good people. And my understanding is that Mr. Davis did do a good job for him. Beyond that, I can't speak because nobody will talk to us.
Sure, I understand. So, thank you.
Councilman Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In reaching out to the other municipalities, did you happen to reach out to anyone other than Springfield?
No,
No, okay. All right.
no, but in my conversations with James Freed, who talks to everybody in the state, including Pat, Pat had indicated that he was a good, that's what James had indicated to me.
Okay, gotcha. In meeting with Vester, did anything raise hairs or set off any alarms with you as far as him being capable of doing the job?
I can't answer that.
Yeah, that may not be a fair question, all right? All right, I'll take that back. I'll take that one back. I'll take that one back.
You know, I'm never gonna cast aspersions on somebody's character based on a simple lunch at that time.
Right.
I'm sure that you talked to some of my associates, probably wouldn't be glowing. I've talked to staff.
Aaron only has nice things to say about it.
Well, that's why, but, okay, I feel better.
Councilman,
I don't mind going kind of first, with just laying it out there, if that's what, I think that's what you were saying. I'll say that I thought he was a really bright and nice young man. I loved his personality and his love and care for people. And he seems like a good listener, which I find very important, and I appreciate you, sir. And I thought his experiences were good. I tend to be a glass half full kind of guy and see the positives. And so I thought this gentleman had high character. That's the way he came across to me, you know, and I'm not a mind reader. I'm just telling you, this is what I saw from the interview. And I will say I have done a lot of interviews. Of course, it was a different kind of interview. I was interviewing teams for IT related projects, but I found him to be a genuine, real person. I appreciated the things he shared. That the concerns I wrote down on my paper while I was listening to him were, I'm a little bit spoiled right now with the two of you guys and all you're doing moving this forward. And to be honest, I want that in our next city manager. And that's where I wasn't saying he's not capable of that, but he didn't come across that way. He came across rather subdued, rather mild. And I'm a little concerned about that one. So I came hoping to hear what everybody else had to say. But I loved his qualifications. I loved his character. I love how he talked about team and that kind of approach. I really liked everything about him, other than I had this, man, is he gonna be, somebody already used a word that I really liked. Is he gonna be strong enough, pushy enough? And is he gonna hold up? There's a lot of pressure in Albion. We have different factions that apply real, actual pressure. And I'm concerned that how he's gonna hold up on that. So those are the two things, the pressure that's gonna come to bear, and is he, you know, strong enough to push it through. I've seen you, and I'm sorry to keep coming back to you. I know you're not walking on water or anything, but I appreciate the way you handle the hard things that come at you. You hear, you act, and, you know, either you're a good actor or you're genuinely listening, and you listen to things, and then you give an answer that helps them to understand that you were listening. But it doesn't stop you from doing necessarily the thing that you were gonna do, because you're weighing all the things and you're gonna move forward. Unless you hear something, the impression I get is you're gonna move forward unless you really hear something that, oh my gosh, we really do need to stop and think about that. You're not gonna just let slings and arrows or whatever they say stop you. So I want someone that has that resolve and will take things forward and not be thin-skinned about it, still be able to work with people even though they strongly disagree, because we have those personalities in our town. We have a lot of those personalities in our town. So that's all I really had to say. I really like the guy. If I could get that confidence, I'd say, let's do it. But I don't have that confidence this minute. So I want to know what you guys think.
Councilman French.
Oh, go ahead, Liz.
No, sure.
I was gonna say that while he's qualified, I agree with you. What I didn't see in that interview was leadership. What I saw was intelligence, experience in projects, but I didn't see leadership. And I think that my worry is that because we burn through city managers, I worry about what will happen if we missed his lack of leadership and went forward anyway, and he did not shine. Because, you know, we just got rid of a city manager who was exceptional. And I did not see the leadership characteristics out of Vester that I did out of our previous city manager. So that's got me worried. That said, given where we are, if we can do a better job as a council in supporting the efforts of our city manager, having his back when things get tough in the citizenry, then I think he has a chance of succeeding. Unlike what we had before. The city council has to be, I mean, I think what we need to show is unanimous support for him if we are to hire him. I don't want this to be a 4-3 or a 5-2 or a 6-1 decision. I want us to be fully in, warts and all. And we're gonna do everything we possibly can to make sure that he's successful, that he can be here long term. Because if we're not gonna do that, then we're setting him up to fail.
So I think the worst thing about it was where we were at the time, because with all the knocking and the banging and the talking and everything, he really would get distracted from what he was saying or displaying. But from what I saw, I was pleased with him, and I had, just like I said before, I had talked to Cheryl before then, Cheryl Mitchell, who used to be our city manager, and she said that she knew him. And she said that he was well equipped to handle things. She said that he was a person who was a worker, who liked to get people together on the same page to get things done. And she really didn't say anything bad. She just said he was quiet. But quiet doesn't mean that you can't get things done, because she says that he did get things done, and that she knew him and had worked with him before and was very pleased with him. So,
That's good to know.
yeah, I think so.
So before I make my comments, Councilwoman Davis, did you want to?
Well, I did some homework and I got other opinions as well. What caught my attention was, well, communication was one, in terms of leadership, in terms of go get it done, you know, let's have a vision. You know, I didn't hear anything about vision. I didn't hear anything about aspirations of where we are, where we could be, and how he could help us get there. And that goes back to leadership. But when James mentioned he's a good person, he has experience, he's not a politician. And we are accustomed to, not saying that Doug is a politician, but he can get things done and communicate it in a logical manner that you buy in. You know, he has spoken many meetings and events, and, you know, everybody is right there. You know, you're right there. Not saying everybody is going to be able to do that, to make people feed into what you are saying. I personally didn't see that. I do understand that he wrote a grant that was very significant. And as a matter of fact, it has been approved. And there are people that have been hired in Springfield to carry it out. You know, so the potential is there. The support would be left up to us. There was a lot of planning that occurred in Springfield, including sidewalks and master plan and strategic plan and training. And so a lot of things were put in place. So the next person who comes in will have to implement it. You know, there was a lot of implementation. There was a lot of planning, being approachable to the community, being to the community, you know, is something. If he's soft-spoken, but will get out there when he needs to do it, then that's all we want, that's all we need. But if he's soft-spoken and don't get out there, meet the citizens, hear what their concerns are, and try to put things in force to address those issues, in a diplomatic way, or, working with the community or working with the staff, is going to be a problem. It's going to be, so, if we decide, this is the right person for us, we will have to get behind him. We will have to have expectations too.
So I agreed that having the interview at the fire station probably wasn't the best location, because you just never know what comes into play, because you're already coming into an interview being nervous, and how those distractions play on your ability to answer questions adequately. I had reservations with many of the responses he gave us, but I would like to see more from him. And what I would suggest is that we bring him back for another interview, but with community partners. So it's not us asking the questions, it's the folks like Bruce Nelson from the EDC, Billy from Chamber, maybe Ronnie Sims from the NAACP. Our community partners can come in with a question or two and ask that are going to be relevant to them, because the city manager is just not dealing with council and staff. That city manager has to deal with our community at large and understand the needs of our community and see how they can respond to our community needs. So that would be my suggestion. But I don't know what you guys think.
I like that suggestion, and I would add maybe a 45-minute or an hour reception, so people could actually come in, shake his hand, introduce themselves, and, just see on an individual level, how is he, what do they see?
Mayor Pro Tem French?
I like the idea. My concern is, do we lose him as a candidate if we wait too long?
That's exactly what will happen. He's not employed, and my understanding is there is some cities opening up in the not too distant future, which he would be obviously just not an applicant, but probably a pretty good candidate.
So to expedite this idea, would it be possible to have that event starting at 6? We're done by 8, and then we go into closed session to give the thumbs up or thumbs down.
Well, I would like, before we make a decision, I would like to get feedback from those folks. Because again, like I said, they're not just accountable to us, they're accountable to our community. And so I would want to get back from Chamber, from the EDC, from, I want to get feedback from those folks as to how they felt the responses were.
How would you get the feedback?
I would create some type of form.
Okay, and they would just
Yeah.
submit it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I just don't truly feel like we can get a sense of that person, their ability, their leadership, their vision, from just that little bit of time we had with that person. I'm not comfortable hiring or saying yes or no at this point. I just don't think, because it was delayed. We delayed, and I think maybe we got 45 minutes. I don't think we can say we're gonna bring in this person based off of 45 minutes of interaction. I'm not comfortable with that. Councilman Stewart?
I was asking if Donovan had more, because you didn't really talk much about specifics.
No, I do, of course, I like this resume a lot. It really stood out. As well as the interview process. I understand how interviews can be, especially in the context of, this situation we were in. Him coming into basically a makeshift room at that point. looking at, as you called out, his support for infrastructure and what he's been able to do in Springfield, as well as the communities that he had served as city managers in before. I think in all, they kind of encompass the makeup of Albion, from the affluent communities to the smaller community being Springfield, much smaller community. It's landlocked inside the city of Battle Creek. You know, they face a certain type of constraints over there that we don't necessarily face here. They don't necessarily have the demand for industry and commerce that we do here. Meanwhile, the other communities did. So in its totality, the makeup of his work has mirrored what we kind of need here in the city. I do like the thought of having a second interview. I do understand that we are under a timetable, and I can't necessarily say how much value add it would be with consideration to the concerns that you raised. How much value add it would be to bring in those shareholders, especially those that didn't make it out to the interview. That's not to say that they didn't have other stuff going where they couldn't make it out. I'm not beating anybody up over that per se. But maybe there's a different way we can get to the answers or the questions that people may have, and also being able to do it in a certain amount of time that would allow us to interact more quickly with Vester so that we can move this process forward. So I don't know, maybe if we put together any other questions that we may have and we sent those over so that way he could answer them with supportive information beforehand. We have another meeting, and you know, we received the feedback from the shareholders, but we also have to do what we have to for the city and, you know, the people that we represent as well. So, you know, we can discuss what the shareholders bring to the table with consideration to what we personally have witnessed in interviewing Vester. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I think we should, like I said, maybe get with those shareholders and get their stakeholders rather, and get those questions ahead of time, maybe send those over. And then any of the big ticket questions, he can call out the things that we may not have been, well, time-wise, he doesn't have the ability to cover in an interview. Like one of the things he said was maybe one of the things he would have did better in Springfield would be to brag a little bit more. Maybe we give him an opportunity to. That way he can say, well, I did this in this community, I did this in this community. This is how I impacted the economic scene in this community. This is how I impacted housing. This is what we did for the seniors. This is what we did to support the youth. That type of thing.
Mayor Pro Tem French.
I would say the question, I would like him to answer it. I would love to give him a full week to think about. You become our city manager. What's your vision for the city of Albion? What are your priorities? What would you like to see done in the first year, first 3 years? Because I think he's the kind of guy who, given time, could blow our doors off. Right. And maybe he's not the kind of guy who can, you know, answer those questions right off the bat.
But that's the whole point of an interview. Like I've never myself gone into an interview and had the questions beforehand. Never in my lifetime.
Oh, interesting. Because I have. So
I've done, yeah, we've done that. And
especially when it comes to
Part of that interview process is
thinking on your feet.
seeing how that person's able to think on their feet, how much thought they put into the position.
Right.
And there's so many other things that I do before I go into an interview that I would have expectations that somebody else who was truly interested would do.
Yeah.
So Councilman Sir.
Thank you. I would say that in a position like this, not unlike when you're when Albion College was looking for a next president and that sort of thing. I think it's hard personally to put someone on the spot and say, what is your goals and vision for Albion? Because he has no experience in Albion. So typically, in my experience, what happens is a leader like that comes in and they get a month or 2 months or 3 months to get their feet wet, and they get to interview all the people and interact with the stakeholders. And at that point is when they can really answer that question. And in my mind, it's a little bit unfair to ask someone who doesn't have any Albion experience what their vision is. I mean, I might be wrong, but I was curious, Doug, I mean, you've been in this position. Could you answer that coming in, what you're gonna do?
Well, it was a little bit different.
I didn't mean for Albion, but I just mean going into a municipality. Could you answer? I mean, is that something you could have done?
In Albion, it was every day there was a new issue. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. But there were, as you know, major infrastructure. There was some personnel, human resource issues, and we had to deal with every day. Let me just say this, every once in a while, you get the right team with the right personalities, the right chemistry to come together. And it's just amazing what you can get done. It is. When I came here, and of course, live right outside of town, we shop here and we're in and out of Albion quite a bit. But it wasn't until I became part of this organization that I got a chance to work with talent and people and look at what we've done. I didn't have the opportunity of 3 months of being able to evaluate. I had great people to work with, coworkers. And when a problem came up, we put our heads together and we were addressing it. Some of those decisions weren't popular, as you might recall, but they had to be done. The last thing I want to say is this. You can't bring somebody in on a split vote whatsoever.
Right, agree.
Whatsoever. It has to be unanimous. I've seen where maybe it'd be 6-1, but other than that, there's no tolerance for that. You have to, off the get-go, show that person, whoever you select, that you have their back. All of council has their back. And I'm gonna have that same talk with staff, that if he's the chosen one, that we have to have his back. And every day I come to work, I have their back. I know that they have mine. That I know I have yours, and we're starting a $27 million construction project. And I want to tell you what the realities of life are. You cannot sit upstairs in that office and think you're going to manage that city from your computer. It's not going to happen. You got to put on that yellow vest. You're going to be talking to people whose driveways are cut off. You're going to be talking to angry people all the time. We've got a host of all different problems. Liz and I went out today and we're looking at homes that need to be taken down. And I don't know where we're going to get the money right now, but they do need to come down. They do.
10 years ago.
Did you see the red house I told you about?
Yes.
Still want to talk to you about.
And so the point I'm trying to make is you have to be the devil in the details. And there are issues right now that Albion needs to be addressed. So my thought in working with Vester is that, fella, you need to hit the ground running. You need to utilize the talents of your staff. And there can't be any delay, any thinking about it. You have to move now. It's that serious of a business. And you're talking about millions of dollars, millions. talking about the health, wealth, and safety of our welfare of our citizens. That's the charge of the job.
Councilman Frost.
Thank you, Mayor. To the mayor's point earlier about interviews, we've all heard the phrase, you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? That's what interviews are. And so I think that what we got from that interview should count for a lot, even if we do see Mr. Davis again. To City Manager Terry's point, you have to be involved, dedicated to the community all the time. One of the things that I was concerned with, Ms. Reed, I think you asked him the question, was he going to relocate to Albion? And the answer was no, was kind of how I got that. Well, if he's not going to relocate to Albion or be near Albion, how can he be truly invested in here? And I know that Doug works, not only business hours, but outside of business hours. And if you need him, he's here. I mean, not just on the phone, but he's here when you need him. And he's out there among us, doing an incredible job. And if you're not close enough to Albion or willing to be close enough to Albion with what we need, I see that as a major, major challenge. My question to him about his favorite restaurant, I know that may have come off as being kind of a silly question, but it really spoke to, how involved was he with his community in Springfield? Did he have a favorite restaurant? Did he know the stores? And I wasn't all convinced he did. I know Mr. Terry does here in Albion. And that matters to me. And I know that matters to our citizens. So I think as a person, I thought he was genuine, and I felt that he had great integrity, if you can get a feeling for those things. And as a person, I think he would be a great asset just about anywhere. But as a leader here in Albion for what we need right now, I don't see it.
Councilman Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, CJ. Just to kind of add a little bit more to the topic that you brought up of moving here. I kicked that idea around quite a bit. Like, his response was, well, the interest rates currently, if you're in at a 2% interest rate, do you want to go and get another mortgage right now? Do you want to buy a home in a community that you may only be in for 2 years due to councils changing, things changing? More importantly, for a person with small children, do you want to bring your kids to a community in which they're bused out of town to another school? I don't have kids, but I would tell you, no. I wouldn't bring my kids to the city of Albion for nothing, because there is no school system here. And if the bus doesn't run, your kids don't go to school, unfortunately. Now, we could ask our city managers, whomever it may be, to deal with that, and their small children to deal with that, because that's what our citizens are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So you can get a firsthand experience of that contextually, right? Or we can be understanding of the fact that we as a community have issues, large issues that we have to address, and those things make the community unappealing as a whole anyway, for anybody, for the hourly employees we try to attract here at the city, to the people that the larger establishments try to hire to bring into the city. It's just difficult to do. So, just adding a little bit more context so that we're not beating up potential candidates over that thing.
That's right.
Well, I completely understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Because when I asked that question, I was just trying to get that information, because if it was me, no, I wouldn't do that. Because in the first place, just like Donovan said, you're going to a place you've never been at before. You don't know how long you're going to be able to be there, whether you're going to like it or whether they're going to like you, or whether you're going to be able to get what you thought you could get done, or you're going to be blocked from getting it.
Sure.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yeah, after listening to all of that, at the end of the interview, I was kind of reflecting in my own mind of things that I wish I would have asked, or things I wish he would have said. And one thing, I wish we would have asked the vision, because candidates should do some research with where they want to go, why they want to come. We didn't ask him, why do you think you're the best candidate for Albion? Why do you want to come to Albion? What are you bringing to Albion? We didn't ask any of those questions, and that would have given us insight into what he's really thinking. Living in Albion, I mean, I can understand, I don't agree with it, but I can understand it due to things because I moved with my children. Wherever we went, my children went. So, and we chose places that we wanted, we chose a place that we wanted our children to grow up in. But, if everything else was in line, everything else was in order, I'm still interested in his vision. What does he think of Albion? What has he heard about Albion? What research has he done about Albion? What ideas does he have to bring to Albion, to help Albion to become a better place? Those are some of the questions that I would like to see him answer.
Well, I'm still at the point of the place where we had it at was not the best place. Because when you got a train going by, you got people talking over the internet and noise and banging. It's hard to keep your thoughts going. I think he's fantastic, and I think he could have explained himself more or in depth of whatever it is that you're looking for, if he had been in a situation like we're in now.
Yeah, so that's why, like, if we can come to a consensus that we would like to bring him in for a second interview, we could definitely look at possibly using Isman House or somewhere where we know it's gonna be quiet and that can hold people if they want to come and watch. So,
Kids Museum,
what was that?
the Kids Museum.
Action, yeah. So,
Opportunity
Yeah, I was gonna
school.
say opportunity.
Yeah.
Auditorium would be great.
exactly. So that, again, is my proposal. We allow the stakeholders, again, to bring in a question or two. We can highly encourage people to come, and then have the opportunity to also have a meet and greet with him. So that's my proposal.
I would second that proposal.
I think it's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments on that?
It had to be soon. Monday.
Well, I will need to coordinate schedules. And kind of going into the thought process, like we have to move quick. I'm not feeling heat because this is an interview process. In any place that I've ever interviewed, it was never a quick turnaround within a couple of weeks. Going into an interview process, I know it's going to take time. So I'm not in that belief that if we don't move quick, we're going to lose out. If we lose out, we lose out. We got a fabulous interim city manager.
And we'll keep him.
So I will work with schedules to try to find a good time to bring people together, secure a venue, and we'll go from there. Yes.
Mayor, of course, I was not able to attend the council meeting a couple weeks ago when you all first talked about city managers. So forgive me, I'm not fully on up to date yet, but do we have other candidates that made our list? No. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this should be a rush because we were second fiddle, with him. He said, let's wait, let me see what Battle Creek is going to do. So we couldn't do anything until he made a decision or they made a decision regarding moving forward, and he wasn't on the list. So, well, I think we are covered in that sense. So if he's not able to do it, or if we lose out, because I felt we lost out when he didn't want to interview.
And we're not saying we're gonna offer him a job anyways, at this point, we're saying coming back for a second interview, so.
Yeah.
I think, I don't mind having an interview, I will say I'm wrestling in my head about what could transpire that would make our council be rock solid confident in this gentleman.
If he did better. I mean, it's like a starting pitcher in a baseball game. You might have a bad day.
Okay.
Right? And he comes back and we ask him some more questions.
You might be right.
And it may be that he blows our doors off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving him that second chance. Because he lasted 2/3 of an inning and got shelled, in my opinion. That doesn't mean he couldn't do better the next time. I want to see him do better the next time. I really do.
I would even be in favor, I would even be in favor of, asking him to think about the future of Albion and what he can bring to the community,
Well, I think if he's gonna watch this, he will come prepared. All right, so City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Are we voting on him coming back?
Yes.
yes. Stewart,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes,
Davis,
yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Awesome, all right. Thank you for that good discussion. Anybody have anything for a future agenda item? Public comment?
I just like to ask, how far out are we thinking?
I'm gonna get a hold of some folks and see when they're all available, and then get it coordinated within the next, I would say, at least give me a week.
Not folks, like who?
Like I said, like Billy Bears from the Chamber, Bruce from the EDC, I'll get a hold of Ryan, see if he's available.
Ministerial Alliance.
What was that?
Ministerial Alliance, is that
Yeah.
still a functioning organization?
So I don't want to get it too big, because again, we had a hard time getting the questions that we had within an hour. I don't know if everybody was able to give two. So that's why I don't want to get it too big, because I want to offer them also the opportunity to ask a question or two. So that's why, yeah. So I'll see who can. get
Can we
together.
see your list? Can you email it to us after you get it finished?
Yes, yes. Awesome. All right, city manager's report?
I have nothing at this time,
Council,
unless you have questions.
any major issues, updates with the streets?
Oh, every day. Every day. One of the things that we're working on is the placement, and I talked to Councilman French about this, the placement of some of our detour signs, the distance away from the actual work, the actual placement. Brian is going, our engineer will be down tomorrow. He and I are gonna take a tour of some of the construction sites. We talked at length about, and Jason and Aaron and I will be talking about the Easter egg in Victory Park. We have some ideas there and very much some concerns with some of the bridges being closed and access to Victory Park. So we want that to go off without a hitch. And the way we do that is we need, of course, the help of public safety and directing traffic, I think, signage. We don't wanna let little ones down. We don't wanna let our citizens down. So we're gonna be talking about that for this weekend. I think that's a critical. Okay, we get by that, I think that's gonna help relieve us quite a bit. One of the things that I'm seeing is the difficulty of semi trucks maneuvering in some of the detour areas.
Yeah.
I saw a car carrier trying to turn down River Then from Superior,
Some of them, in my experience in some of these traffic stops in some of those scenarios is they literally are following their GPS.
Oh, yeah.
that's,
to
that,
a T,
And the GPS isn't
and
caught up.
it's- Yeah, I mean, and then if it takes them into a river, someone's gonna just go.
well, the problem we had was, we had a car at River Street wanting to turn right
Uh-huh.
onto Superior. So the truck, and you know how wide it turned. Fortunately, that car cooperated, backed up to allow the semi truck to complete the turn.
We've even had spot in that specific intersection where Airport Road was getting worked on in Jackson and the bridge was lowered. And this particular semi could not clear it, so he had to go all the way down M60. Then shoot all the way
Yeah.
to Jackson.
Well,
Has
and,
it,
and
right?
GPS is not
Yeah.
figured out, because I got directed tonight and have been directed from Coldwater to take the alternative route to avoid Erie Street by taking 29.5 mile road and then going down Hannah,
So,
because Hannah's bridge is not marked as closed.
so one of the things we were thinking about with technology is if we could have a tab on our city website where the engineer had access and could update it every day of where construction is and what the best routes are. So it almost would be a living GIS that would be updated every day or every other day, to me. And just get that message out to our citizens. I'm wondering if that won't help, because, I mean, I know that a lot of people don't look at that stuff, but anything we can do.
The MDOT website does a pretty good job. The bridges are just not on it.
Yeah.
And that's-
Could we update the Google map? Could
You
they
can
do that?
try.
The problem with Google is, who do you talk to?
So what you do, because I volunteer for Google in that regard on maps and reviews, is you can go to the physical location and identify a road hazard. But you
Yeah.
gotta do it every day for a week
Oh,
for it to sort of kick.
So we could all do it.
Yeah, we all could, absolutely could. But you just have to go there, and that's,
Yeah.
do I want to drive all the way down Haven Road?
Oh, you're saying you physically have to be there?
Yeah, you have to physically.
and the other thing is fortunately, we had a great planning commission meeting the other night, Thursday night, the planning commission finally approved the lot split of the Robakan property and our property for the water tower. And, so that was immediately sent to Cullen. Cullen is working with, the title company because we want to close that property ASAP. The contractor is getting concerned. And there's good reason for it. He has to have a certain ambient temperature to weld. And when a water tower comes in, they come in sections. And so he's getting concerned about delays. And there is a considerable, I think, what is it? $1,000 a day for.
Yes.
And so I assured him, no, it's not your fault, but he's concerned about being able to complete within a construction season, the welds that need to be done. I don't blame him. So that's one of the things going on.
So Monday we'll have that from Colin, right?
What's projected start date?
He actually wanted to come in, a month ago
Gotcha.
and start on site prep.
Okay.
That's how long of a delay. We had, pre-con a month ago,
Yes.
and I know he wanted to get started ASAP.
And it's delaying the other contractors. Quality has already laid the pipe out there and it's stock, so.
Yeah. We had a good meeting with Mr. Schaefer the other day. He's excited about all the work we're doing.
Who's Mr. Schaefer?
Schaefer
Schaefer Dynamics.
Concrete.
Gotcha.
So those are good things, but. So that's one of many things that's going on.
All right. Council member comments?
Other than
Go ahead.
Fifth Precinct, meeting on Thursday. I have the director coming from the transportation program, Mallory. Avis is going to come and she's going to, I said, be prepared for questions, because people have a lot of questions and everything from how much is going to cost, what is it going to look like. We are hiring, I've sent about 4 or 5 people from Albion to Battle Creek to apply for positions here in Albion. So hopefully by the time July 1st comes, we'll have a slate of people in Albion. And you'll talk about the number of vans that may be stored here so we can have a flexible schedule as needed. We also have Stephanie Freeman is coming from the LED program to just kind of talk about the LED initiative that I don't know if they've come to the council, but they've been speaking around town. They haven't, yeah. So she's going to talk and
She's leading the LED program, or she led the leading program.
she's leading the LED program, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so Stephanie will be there, and of course, we have an update from city government. So anyone who plans to come and answer questions about the roads and the detours and things like that and what is going on. So it's going to be a very productive meeting, I think.
Date and time again for the people at home?
Thursday at 7.
Oh,
For the people listening.
oh, for the people.
Promote.
Okay, well, I had sent things out, but it's going to be Thursday, 6 o'clock at Marshall Opportunity School. So if they can.
There you go.
Yes.
Councilman Strait, if you have something to say.
Yeah, 2 things. One, if you guys, when you're talking about the blighted houses, before tearing them down, if we could at least have a little conversation about that. Just as an example, I don't know if you know 209 West Erie, that's a blue house that's been in disrepair. That might be one of those that would be considered for a dumpster, but we bought that, Urban Blue Development did, and we're rehabbing that, and it's gonna be 3 or 4 apartments.
Is that the house that the roofers were on today?
Yeah.
I drove by there.
So just, I'm saying that many developers feel like when you have a foundation, and if you have any kind of structure left, you're still quite a bit further ahead than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
From a money perspective, so I would at least like to have a conversation before we, put too many in the dumpster.
Well, I think some of them, if you saw Jason's report from the last council meeting, that they were burned.
Yeah, these are all ones that Safe Building team. They can be rehabbed.
Okay, and I'll just say,
No,
we've
yeah,
had,
but
we've
I
had a
think-
number of houses torn down that many people would beg to differ. And so I would ask you, please, have conversations with people who are more on the preservation side. So before we tear them down, or, I'm just saying, there's been a lot of things that have happened over the past few years that make people angry. And that if we can find a constructive way to save houses, can we at least try to do that?
Sure.
And one of our lead guys on our crew, for example, specialized in burnout houses, bringing them back to life. So it's not doesn't mean the structure is done because it had a fire, even a bad fire. So just saying, if you would please converse. I have one more thing, excuse me, CJ. But the second thing is, I have a person that, not for free, but would be willing to help with communication on the road closures. And she's a whiz at marketing and getting the word out through appropriate channels so people can actually hear and get the message. And she's open to doing it. But like I said, she's a pro, so she's not gonna do it for free. I don't know if there's any budget for it, but she's an Albion resident. She's an amazing individual, and she cares about Albion. So if that's something that you wanna talk to her about, I'll link you all up.
That's fine.
Donovan, I think you're.
No, I'll go.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Just in support of Councilman Stewart. Most of you know that line of work I am is preservation. And through my work, I've worked on a number of places that were slated for demolition. We've brought them back to life. And we talk about how we've got housing issues in Albion. I think this could be an answer to help relieve some of that. I think that organizations that are inspection companies, they're not builders, they're just inspectors. So they're an administrative form, but they don't have the actual, outside the box creative thinking that's necessary sometimes to come up with solutions that are really advantageous for saving old houses, because that's not the perspective that they have in their business. I'm a builder, I know Urban Blue Development, they're builders. So we do see things a little bit differently in a way that we think will be beneficial to the community. So anyway, just to support what Councilman Stewart said about these buildings that maybe one entity has said, scrap them, but in a much more real practical sense, it's beneficial for our city, they do deserve another look.
Councilman.
Yeah, to support both Jim and CJ. I believe that, so not that I believe, okay, so in the houses that we've torn down, it cost us roughly $20,000. Probably, okay, these. No?
It's about
Am I over 11? Okay, we'll say 11,000, sorry, guys.
So a lot of it depends on too, if we have a fire escrow. So if that house had insurance that caught on fire, there was an escrow.
They take care of
it. Give to the city. Right now, we have two of them that insurance will pay for it, tear down.
Okay, I wasn't up to date on that,
Yeah.
escrow thing. I was gonna say,
Will they pay to restore?
No, they'll just take it down.
now, what I was gonna say in that scenario of spending the 11,000, we could utilize that because currently it's just coming outside of the escrow. If we were to tear one down and we didn't have an escrow, it would come out of the pockets of the city, right? We could instead incentivize developers through partnership to be able to renovate and rebuild these properties. We could partner with the EDC. If we can incentivize them to issue a line of credit to the builders. And then also, as the city, we could incentivize them through partnership, maybe in the fee structure for the planning department, planning and zoning office. Maybe we're able to take care of a few of the planning side issues, which would then in turn incentivize the builders to come in, renovate those properties and get them back on the tax roll. And it could be creative. We could use tax incentive. We could use, like I said, the EDC, but we can figure out a way in which we can get these properties instead of tearing them down, because it costs so much to build right now. You couldn't rebuild any of those houses for what we could get them back on the tax roll for.
Are
So
either you doing that brown house on William Street?
I'm not familiar with it, and it would, yes, I'm not.
Somebody's trying to fix that house up, and that house is a mess.
The red one,
No, the one on William Street, the brown one.
Ms. Moyes.
Oh, I know. There was a car behind it, or a Suburban behind it today. It's where we took down that.
That
The other one.
mess. on
Yeah, the other
corner,
one.
and you Going
Yeah.
down to that brown house.
Yeah.
I've been seeing people around there like they're fixing up things.
Well,
to that house.
We see people, but I don't see any fixing up. So here's to go back to your point. Love to work with developers to that end. The problem is time. Trying to make sure that the house, and we use a company called Board 'em Up. I think that's what it's called.
Mayor Pro now, to board, for the boarding,
Yeah,
yeah, Mayor Pro, is now it is.
okay. So the problem is you can't have an unsafe structure where it's causing a danger to the public. You can't have kids getting in and out don't want any of that. We would love to be able to work with developers to renovate these homes. The problem is time. We need to have a plan and love to put them on hold. As long as we have guarantees or a time frame for somebody to go after it aggressively and complete it. That seems to be the biggest problem. The homes that we drove by today, front door was kicked in, nobody was there, the back roof was all burned out. Got out of the car, not too far from where you lived.
Yeah, that yellow house up. Yeah.
The foundation's falling in.
Wow.
And it's open. So, I mean, that's the problem that we encounter. Love to have developers come in and rebuild these things. It's a time issue. And trying to also preserve the safety of it.
Michigan licensing with Safe Build is the biggest hurdle, because they're not gonna approve some of these houses to
I think Jason.
a licensing to renovate them because of the rate at which they are.
The other thing too is that the last three we took down all had court orders where the homeowners refused to comply. Cullen is gonna take the bills that we put out and then go back and get a money judgment against them to garnish their wages. They're basically just leaving these houses to sit and refuse to fix them. These are ones that haven't gone back on tax roll.
So you guys have a, I believe in you guys. I don't know how to say this, but all I'm asking is, can you add, a few more people to the discussion on it? Because I don't know everything either, but I just, I get a lot of comments because we're in the business about things that have happened for 5 years that they wish could have been different. And I just like to explore that because
It's not a problem.
a lot of us, or a number of us, a few of us at least, are all about renewal and saving what we've got. That's all. And there may not be a way to save every house. I don't mean it that way, but there might be a way to save some houses.
Sure.
Councilman Davis.
Give me one more minute. One is Austin School. Is there new information on Austin School in terms of what is happening and?
Yeah, the land bank owns that. And as you know, about 3 weeks ago, we saw a cruise in there doing winterization kind of work. All they've been doing is the land bank has sent their maintenance crews in to tighten up some of the windows and do maintenance things just to preserve. My understanding, there's no prospective buyer or development on that building.
Because that's a staple in the Albion community.
Yes,
So
it is.
If we could
It's a bit
save
rusty.
it.
It's a rusty staple.
It's a staple though. Yes.
I think it's
Yeah,
been closed my entire life.
Taking care of.
Is that right? Is that right?
And I would just like to say thank you to Jason and his staff for helping. 6 trees were planted. My sorority and students from the college and the sorority and fraternities. Really, everything was there. You even brought shovels. So we got it done within a 45-minute period. So thank you. And I'll help water. And you're gonna fertilize them and
Yeah, James and Deidre will take care of water.
James and DJ, yes, they did a beautiful job.
Austin Avenue, that looks good.
Where'd they put 'em?
We planted trees in Riga Park.
Riga Park.
And that was one of the environmental target areas for the sorority to do something in the community.
Just make the disc golf more difficult.
Make what?
The
Obstacle.
disc golf.
Councilman
more
Stewart.
difficult.
No.
We're gonna have a comment? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So, support.
All in favor,
Since
say
we've been
aye.
long.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 7:10 PM. Thank you.
Hey, Jason.
Yes.
So I got a dead tree in my,
Yes.
Yeah.
CJ?